Hey everybody, Cindy Daycheck here with Queen Bee Creations. Today's project is really kind of a simple, quick little fix. You know, there are times that I get pieces of furniture from folks who are donating them to me, see if there's anything that I can do with them. This little table is one. It's got a little single drawer up here. But this particular piece is not going to be good enough for me to be able to resell, even when I fix it up. So a couple of things. One, totally split top, okay? This piece has got tons of chips and dings and irregularities to it, which again, a lot of times I'll refinish anyway, but it has probably received, I don't know, maybe about 6, 7, 10, 20 coats of paint. Not all good coats of paint. So there are a lot of drips. There is a big hole in the side of this. So it's one of those pieces that, quite honestly, for me, is not going to be worth my time in refinishing to resell, because it's never really going to be good enough to resell. But what I thought was this particular table, this would be perfect for outdoors. This is something that, you know what, paint it up quick, put a bunch of varnish on it, some outdoor varathane, put it outside. You're not going to care if this gets damaged through the Canadian winters or the hot summers. I mean, whatever you're exposing it to. So because it had a lot of irregularities, what I decided to do was to use the salt wash. Use a textured medium. So I'm going to play up the texture rather than try to hide it, because there's really no masking what's wrong with this. What I thought, because I loved doing that little salt wash desk so much, is instead of the white underneath and the color on top, I'm going to flip it. And I'm going to do a salt wash in the dark blue Mediterranean color, and then I'm going to paint it white again. And then I'm going to sand it back to have that blue, kind of that coastal kind of look coming through. So mixing up the salt wash, we use a combination of, and salt wash is just this powdered, textured medium. Okay, so it's got some salt product in there. It's not quite the same as using plaster. So it gives a nice kind of raised dimensional texture, but it's also pretty easy to sand down to be able to get smooth. So what we're looking at doing is doing a raised texture in the blue, painting over the white and sanding it down. We'll take all the highs off with the sandpaper to expose the blue beneath it. So we're going to get this nice mottled look. So we typically then do about 1 part paint. I'm just going to seal this before I inadvertently kick this over. Now I'm mixing up the salt wash, and you can see I didn't measure. You know, sorry, I just don't. But you could do 1 and 1. That's a right ratio. I just keep going till it's right. So it starts to thicken up. This is a little too goopy still. We want it stiffer than that, kind of like a particularly stiff cake batter. And then that would be the right consistency. We want it to be stiff enough that when we are adding it on here, we're going to be kind of dabbing and smearing it and swirling, that kind of stuff, that we're going to get some texture in there, right? We don't want it to be so thin that it goes on like paint, because then it's just like paint. So we want to get some of that texture. And you can see already that this is thicker. It's holding more of its shape, which means it's going to give me some peaks. Now those peaks are disappearing a little bit, so I'm adding just a tinge more. And we'll stir that up. All right, so you can see I'm just using a chip brush for this because I just want to be able to get texture. So you can see that it's just really thick. And all we're going to be doing, I just want this little drawer out a little bit here. So I'm not doing the sides of the drawer or the top or the bottom, because I don't need that rough texture preventing it from being able to slide in easily. But I am putting that texture on, and we want to glop it into place. And I'm smoothing it out on the bottom here so that I get the color on there. So that when I sand, I can get a little bit of that. And I need some glasses for this detail work. But I don't want big, heavy pieces hanging down to interfere with the drawer opening and closing. Okay. So I'm not looking for a uniform pattern with this. You're going to have some places that they've got a lot of highs, some places with a lot of lows. And that's really what you're looking for. You're looking for that variation and a lot of differentiation with the product. This big hole, I'm not even bothering to fill. I'm just going to kind of paint it out so that you don't notice it as much. And I'm just calling it a day. And as long as no bees find it and decide to make a home in it, I'm going to be okay. It was a last minute thought. I might have actually thought of that sooner. But again, this is a saving it from the junk heap kind of use for this. This would make, you know, if in your back, if you had like a potting shed or something like that, this would also be a good kind of little table to use for that. It's solid construction. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just not going to be something that I would ever be able to really sell or market just because of the amount of damage to it. Okay? I'm going to finish doing all of this piece completely in the salt wash and then let it dry. We'll then cover it. I'm going to do probably one coat, one nice heavy thick coat of a white, and we'll perhaps get back together for some of the sanding so that you can see some of the reveal. So this is our little white piece now. We've got the top coat on, we've got our salt wash finish underneath, and now it's time to be able to sand back, smooth out the finish, and expose a lot of the blue underneath. Noisy, dusty, great to do outside, but here we go.